What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Scale News Update. If you're not familiar with the show, this is where we talk about the news that happened in the scale world of RC over the past week. If you enjoy the Scale News Update regularly, hit the like button now. Let's jump into this week's topics. First for this week, Artful Dodgers announced that they are closing up shop. About a month ago, they had made a post on their social media saying that they were closing their eBay store. And before that, we hadn't really seen much activity on their page for quite some time. But this week, they made the official announcement that they'd be closing up their operation completely. Artful Dodgers made some, low CG or LCG style chassis and a number of, adapters and mounts for a number of platforms. And they specifically also had a cooperation with Element on their comp style platform that they had launched some time ago. But after all of that, in the end, it didn't appear that things were going well enough or whatever it may have been to cause them to keep the store open. So now that is coming to a close. They did announce that there was some closeout deals on some things. So if you want to look for what may be left, you can jump over to their site, see what is still remains, pick up what maybe fits your needs at this time. It's always disappointing to see a brand that close up shop in this world of RC, but it happens every day, and this time it's just one of them that we knew of. Next, Louise RC released 3 new crawler tires. Now, we haven't covered this brand, but maybe a couple of times over the course of the Scale News Update. I believe from actually having some of the tires and comparing them, feeling them, things like that, I believe that this is the same brand that produces the tires that were always labeled as the Duratrax brand tires that you would see sold through places like Tower Hobbies and things like that. But they also sell their own version under their own label. But I do believe that they are the actual manufacturer of these tires. So the new ones that they released are the Gravelstage, the Sixgear, and the Enduro. The styles of these aren't necessarily modeled after, or closely at least modeled after, a scale type tire, and some of them are a far departure from the look of an actual licensed or scale type tire. The Duratrax tires that I'm more familiar with, I believe, are very similar or the same compound possibly, and they were a very soft rubber. They did require a pretty good foam inside, and I'm not sure if Louise RC has differed from that approach over the last few years or so since I've actually owned or tried a set of their tires. So this is a brand that you do see in hobby shops because it is distributed by HRP and sold directly also on HRP's customer facing website called Hobby Rec. So if you're looking to buy them online instead of just at a local shop, you can definitely check there. And you may find them at other stores as well that also buy from HRP. But just another option. These are a pretty inexpensive tire set because they are also sold mounted on wheels. They're about $30 a pair, tire pre-mounted on a wheel. I do believe that you can actually get these separately as well in case you have a set of wheels that you want to put them on. But with the departure from the typical style of tires that they take here, maybe that'll appeal to some of you in a different way. So if one of those interests you, you can find more information down in the description below with links to each of them. There will also be links to each of the stories from this week. This week, Cross RC posted a video showing off their new CC8. This is a crazy big 8x8. We did talk about this vehicle some time back with one of their teaser videos where they showed like the rendering style of this, but now they're showing a full, presumably production version of the car. It's an 8x8. It's got a single long chassis section down the center with independent arms for each axle coming off of that. Tons of machined parts in this thing, a detailed military style body. I'm not sure exactly what vehicle this is modeled after specifically. I believe it's a foreign military vehicle that just outside of what my normal knowledge of 8x8 type vehicles are. But I'm sure that one of you will most likely know exactly what it is. Either way, it is cool. Cross has a ton of these big scale 6x6 and 8x8 type vehicles, independent suspension, solid axle, multiple axle steering, different types of utilities on the back like this one has. they're just cool. I know it's for a different market than our typical scale market, but either way, they're impressive to see, and just everything that goes into them looks like it would be a pretty fun build, as Cross does offer kits for most of these in general, and the bodies are nice hard bodies. Just a lot that goes into these things. Pretty cool to see. They didn't have a link to anywhere that you could actually buy or get the information for the vehicle yet, although as they're presenting it, it does appear that they are releasing it for that. I just don't know exactly where or when or how much yet. Hopefully we'll see the information cross-posted to the US website here before too long, as right now it's only been on the Cross RC China site. More information on that hopefully soon, when we can see exactly what this big old thing is gonna cost. And then Kyosho released the third version of their Fazer drift platform, this time with the Toyota Tundra body on top. The Toyota Tundra body they previously had on the on-road Fazer platform, and now they've ported it over to the drift. But just like they did with the 86 and the AE 86 that was before that, it is clipless. It's got an integrated clipless system, no body posts, no holes in the body. This does have like a molded cage section behind the cab, as well as a little spoiler that comes off of the back. So there's some molded details that I believe tie into that clipless body mounting system. It's just nice that they realize that the clipless is where it's at. And I just hope that they continue to take that approach through the rest of their Fazer platform that all has those amazing looking bodies that are just a little bit ruined by those body pins. So Kyosho, I think, has some of the best looking on-road bodies, and they're transferring quite a bit of that into these drift platforms. The drift platform in general, while not myself personally, but I have seen a number of people ride it around a track, and it seems to be capable. I'm sure it's not going to go toe-to-toe with the high-end drift platforms in general, but looks like it could be a decent place to have some fun on the drift track. And again, there'll be a link in the description below where you can find extra information out on that vehicle. And if you're looking for extra information on channel membership, there will also be a link for that. Channel membership is available for the channel. If you want to support it a little bit extra, that's an easy way. You get videos early, like the Scale News Update the night before. You get Afternoons Delight, which is an extension of the Scale News Update with, kind of some of the important stories we go back over, as well as just some other catch up that we do on a weekly basis. Then you get some extra just member only videos as well. And again, it helps support the channel if you're looking for more information on that. Link down there below. Thanks to everybody who supports the channel, and thanks to everybody who watches any of the videos, which helps a ton. This Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, come join Matt and I for live stream takeover, just like every single Wednesday, where we talk a little bit about RC. That's why RC is not in the name, because it's not a lot about what the show is, but there's a little. Come join us. It's always a good time, or you can watch it after the fact, but joining us for the live chat, some of the best parts of it. 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And if you work for an RC company and like to see any of your products on the Scale News Update, shoot me an email to news@harleydesigns.com. Include a photo and a link to where it'll be found, as well as a description of what your item is. Love to take a look at that, see if we can get included here on the Scale News. New this week from Dylan RC is a power distribution board that is set up to look like a yellow top Optima battery. This is a simple power distribution setup that allows you to feed and input power to it and then just give you 3 outputs to hook up, multiple sets of lights or whatever accessories you may be needing power for, and you're just trying to do in a clean way without trying to solder a big bunch of wires together, which can be a huge pain. This is rated for 5 amps at 12 volts. So depending on what you're trying to run through there, this might be a good fit, simple and clean. And also they've worked with Night Customs to be able to sell a modified version of the Night Customs engine bay setup for the H10 Optic, so that you can use this up front as a functional power distribution where the battery is in that print. This makes wiring things like lights a little bit easier for you. Last week, DSM Off-Road launched 3 new sets of trail sliders for the VS410 platform. These are specifically fit to some of the popular comp style bodies like the Proline Comp Wagon, the J-Concepts Anvil, as well as the Reefs Plague body. Now, these are a form-fit slider that bolts to the side of the chassis, fits the body well, and also gives you a modified battery tray to make sure that it fits easily inside of each of those bodies. DSM always does a great job with their prints, and again, they're always really reasonably priced, these being no exception. These are offered specifically for what body you're after. So it's not a universal thing, it's fit to each body. So make sure that you just select the proper one if you're on their website, and they have a bunch of other options for the platform while you're there as well. So take a look at that, DSM Off-Road, tons of cool stuff. Horizon Hobby and Cleetus McFarlane teamed up to make a replica of Cleetus's Carbon Cub with the livery that is on his full-size version, now available on the little E-Flight, whatever one that Horizon makes. Looks just like it. It's a cool looking livery. It's a very beginner-friendly plane, they say. I guess we'll see. And it's offered in both a bind and fly and a ready to fly version, depending if you have one of their radios or not. There was a video on the Cleetus McFarlane channel showing the features of like the safe mode to help you be able to recover the plane depending on what you're doing wrong at the time. Again, I think it's just a beginner focused plane. And again, we'll see. It's of course going to be targeted at fans of the Cleetus McFarlane channel because the plane itself is not new. It's a model that's been offered for a couple of decades at this point. And as of course, technology has improved over time to make it safer and easier for new people to fly. And that's in the end what you have here with this new offering. So you can find it either on the Horizon site, at dealers everywhere, or directly on the Cleetus McFarlane website, depending on where you like to shop, in case you're trying to win some sort of giveaway at the moment or not. But pretty cool to see that. The number of like YouTube and hobby companies working together, I always think is cool. Then I ran across this MN82T. Now we've covered vehicles from them in the past. That's kind of like that WPL area of the hobby. They're not exactly like what you would call full hobby grade, but they're more than like a toy grade, but they're very inexpensive, like 50, 60 bucks. And this is a licensed Toyota hard body. This version is a tow truck. So offered in two colors, red or yellow. It's a little tow truck. If you just love tow trucks or tiny Toyota tow trucks, and I guess it checks enough boxes. It's pretty cheap. I don't know if you need one or not. This is from Asia RC Depot where it's available at. They did recently have that 3-wheel like tuk-tuk for sale. So in case you're like trying to combine an order, maybe pick up a number of new things, then you can knock out two birds with one stone. Last week, we talked about the new Furitek Unity 10 2-in-1 outrunner system. This week, Furitek released a new 1800 kV version called the Torque Edition. The first version that they released was a 2300 kV. This one bumping that down a little bit to 1800. Still most of the same specs. It's got a nice beefy BEC inside of it. It's Bluetooth programmable. Overall, it's a very cool little system. I got my 2300 installed in one of my vehicles and need to do a little bit more testing, but initial bench testing, kind of driving it around, putting some load on it, still seems nice, smooth, quiet. So looks like it could be a winner, but time will tell once we actually get to put some real world runtime on it. Kind of cool to see that they're getting the options out there right away. The 2300 and this one both 4S capable, so you can put some real RPM to them, get the wheel speed back out, even with this slightly lower kV version. A pretty cool release, and alongside of that release, they just posted up their new Microtesla displays for both the 1/10 scale system and the 1/18 scale. This is a little LED or LCD dashboard type setup that gives you, it's got a scroll wheel on top for some programmability settings, and it gives you a display of what's going on exactly. It is a remote setup, so you can kind of move it around and figure out exactly where it needs to go in your vehicle to make it visible. They showed in their product photos having a little standoff that like they mounted on the side of the transmission, but I guess if you're not trying to program via a Bluetooth, it just gives you the ability to do things there. They had this same type of screen and scroll wheel integrated into one of their 124 scale ESCs, where it was all in one unit, ESC and the LCD, but now they're just separating those, specifically good for something like the 2-in-1 that they recently released. Kind of cool. Might be a fun option to integrate into a scale dashboard, was my first thought. Or if you just like the ability to have some, visual telemetry of what your system's doing, could be helpful as well. Again, 2 different options. There's a 110 scale option and one for the 1/18/124 scale. So buy appropriately. Then this week I also saw Upgrade RC release their own private labeled version of an airbrush system, a simple piston style airbrush compressor and dual action airbrush setup. They are sold separately as well as the hose. So if you wanted to get a full setup, you'll have to make sure that you get all 3 of those SKUs. If you've been thinking about trying to get into airbrushing, this did look like one of the cheapest options that was listed on AMain's site. So something to consider. And that does it for this week's news topics. For this week's question, I want to go right back to that airbrush though, kind of. I own an airbrush system that I bought a year or so, maybe about a year ago or so. And I think I've used it twice. I think maybe 3. No, I think twice. So what I want to ask you guys is, what is something you bought for RC and just almost never used it? Thought, yeah, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to use it. And then just didn't. Not counting like a car that is a shelf queen, because if it's a shelf queen and it's sitting on the shelf, that's using it for the intention that you have it. But if that was not your intention, then that could be an answer. But I think the more miscellaneous items is an even better. So if you have some sort of weird random tool or electronic item, whatever it may be, post whatever it is down in the comments below. I think these could be good. I think there's a lot of you that maybe had the impulse buy problem that I may have had, I may still currently have. I definitely still currently have. Cleetus plane. Anyway, put your comments down below. Make me feel better about some of my poor decisions. But that's going to do it for this week's news topics. As always, I appreciate all of you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. It helps a bunch. If you're interested in channel membership, that's available also. But with that, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.